I like the host now.
Hi, everybody. How you doing out there? It is time. It's time. It's time. It's time. Listen, you are going to have a good time tonight. It's Thursday. It may be cold outside, but it is warm in here. And I hope you are all ready for a super duper show with the dynamic duo couple. You know, Quammie Williams and Janelle Skerritt. I'm just giving you a couple moments to come on in, hoping that you are going to join us on the live. And if those who don't catch us on the live are going to catch us on the replay, I'm going to low down the music just a tad. Guess what's playing in the background? It is Calabash. Now, I don't have the rights to the music, but I do have permission to play the music. I love to say that, you know. And this band is here in Toronto and led by Anthony Pierre. Feel free to share to your pages. You know, if you have any questions for the fantastic dynamic duo, you let us know. Sorry we started a couple minutes late, but you know, when you're going to have a fabulous show, it means that, hey, some's got to go a little technical, right? So I'm going to turn off Calabash for a while. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Nicole Waldron, and this is the show Victory Speaks. It's inspired conversation with Victory Speaks. See, I'm double tied tonight, but that's all good. It's all good because we live in a world that we are changing and doing things on the fly and learning new things. And this is new for me. This is my vidcast. Some call it vlogging, but I have an audio podcast. You can catch it on any way that you can catch a podcast on Google Play and Spotify. And it tends to be a little shorter, but we are going to actually start putting our interviews up on the podcast, Victory Speaks. So that's going to be exciting. And, you know, I'm on a mission to share inspired conversations with all of you. I have inspired conversations all the time. And I figured, like, how could I not share? Whether it was good, bad, funny, ugly, you name it, I just had to share it with all of you because I know how it's inspired my life and enhanced my life. And I want us all to have victory in our lives. I mean, I know victory looks differently for everybody. But you know, we just got to just learn to do some celebration of self, celebration of life, and make things happen. And so as you're coming in, get your glass of water, get your notepad, because you never know what you're going to learn when you're here. You know, get your snacks and get ready to engage with my guest today. And I'm going to introduce them to you. We are going to be talking about Kwanzaa and the Adinkra Farms. And so my first guest, it's a dynamic duo, as I told you, the phenomenal power couple. And I'm going to welcome, you know, the audience. I see Joan Pierre in the house. Sarah. Oh, Sarah, you love my outfit. Girl, I need to come into your closet. Can you send me some stuff from Ottawa, please? And if you have any designers there that need a little showing, I am willing to wear their clothing. I'll give it back. But I need to up the wardrobe. But anyways, because the lady I'm about to introduce, if you see her outfit, when I saw her backstage, I was like, girl, please. You know, Janelle Skerritt she is the vice president of Vibrant Communities and Poverty Reduction at the Neighborhood Group in Toronto. Guess what? This beautiful young woman is the mother of five, I tell you, a senior leader, international public speaker, moderator, facilitator, trainer, and coach. And that's not all. She has a broad range of experiences, including administration, social enterprise development, fundraising, youth development, anti-racism, diversity and inclusion training, organizational development, communications, economic inclusion. Now listen, I have to tell you all this because I want you to know how phenomenal she is. She probably doesn't like me reading her whole bio, but I am determined that we are going to. Recently, she took on the role of Literary Review Circle panelist for the Charity Report, an online news magazine for the charity sector. Janelle is a published author and well-established banker lady leading traditional savings and credit associations, ROSCAs, also known as the Susu, Partner, Kitty or Box, and other names depending on the cultural location you're at. So I had to throw in my little Trini accent here. Yes, she is a champion of mutual and aid networks and collective economic development solutions. She is also the program director and co-owner of Adinkra Farm, where she leads retreats, camps, team buildings, and rites of passage training programs for youth and adults. Now, you know, with all of that, she's got some awards under her belt. I'm just going to tell you a couple. Like this one was like Canadian Armed Forces Chaplaincy School Medal. Come on now, Janelle. She was named one of the most 100 accomplished Black women in Canada. Come on, Phenomenal Woman Award. That's why I told you she's phenomenal. Now, this woman here is married to, I don't know how to describe him. We just gonna call him yes, he is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yes, I'm using some Mary Poppins to introduce this cultural icon here. I know Mary Poppins and drumming have a far off the hemisphere. But anyway, Rudy Quammie Williams, as a mentor to youth, community business, to community businesses, organizations, and individuals. And if you don't know Rudy Quammie Williams, where in the world have you been? I'm just saying, you haven't been in Toronto too long, or you've been living under a rock, and it's a very big rock you've been living under. He's a business consultant and facilitator with a passion for nonprofits, entrepreneurships, and small businesses. Kwame has a long history of service to the public through his work in various levels of government and in a number of community serving organizations. Let me tell you, if you knew some of the organizations he worked for, I tell you, it'll knock your socks off. He is a business consultant. You know, he is the business consultant. And if you're looking for one, after this conversation, you will know why you need to hire him. He should be a millionaire by now. I just don't understand why he isn't. In addition to his love of business and dedication to creating strong, qualified leadership, Kwame is a multidisciplinary artist who specializes in the use of arts and culture in Africa-centered learning opportunities. He has dedicated his career to, amongst other things, to the re-education of the African Canadian community on the value of their ancestral instrument, the drum. In addition to his study of African and Caribbean drumming traditions, Kwame is a graduate of York University Fine Arts and MBA programs and has contributed his skills and knowledge of the drums to the music of Joe Seeley, Jody Mowat, the Parachute Club, Martha and the Muffins, Dr. John, and many, many others. He is the co-founder of Usafiri. I need to get my song thing and my drum thing happening. Sankofa and Barra Janumba, 3 ensembles dedicated to educating and educating through the presentation of Africa and African diaspora music and dance. So listen here. I really wish that there was a way that I could get everybody to hear the round of applause you guys deserve for being on the stage. So I'm going to try and see if I can get a little roll here to bring you up on. Hold on. Here you coming. We're coming. All right, we're bringing them up. Hey! That's me coming in the background. That's me. I hire the band, I hire the drum on some for you guys, boy. They're in the back there, but we can't see them because we're social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from
Hello.
Welcome. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. The comments coming in already. Loving the introduction. Kwame poppin'. These are the type of folks who should be nominated. Come on now. Sarah Oyango, you're jumping out of the park. These are the type of folks we should be nominating for the Order of Ontario and the Order of Canada. Y'all start putting in the nominations. I am right there with that. So, Kwame and Janelle, welcome to the Inspired Conversation.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. And I find you looking good,
Thank you.
Yeah, I love your outfit. Beautiful.
Yeah, nice colors.
Yes, listen, I was coming with, you see who I come in to interview today? I had to come correct, and then we're going to be talking about content. Listen, I had to
Hey.
step it up. I had to step it up. So how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Excellent. Outstanding.
Is it?
That's
Excellent.
for sure.
That,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's a multi-layered question. And so if you want the multi-layered answer,
we want the truth.
yes, of course. But
The
I'm
full
saying
truth.
the truth in this case, if I interpret it broadly, to be quite honest with you, I'm usually doing as well as my community is doing, or as well as I perceive my community to be doing. So, right, at stepping into the age that I am now, that question often is interpreted with regards to my physical well-being, and I'm happy to say that I am in reasonable health. I have some of the ailments my parents had, and so on. It gets passed on to you, and it starts to manifest around now. But I'm managing, and I'm physically fairly healthy, and so on. But in another way, my community has faced a lot between January 1st of 2020 and today. And so I have to say that, in one way, my heart is a little bit heavy because of the fact that, we continue to struggle. The disparity is enormous in terms of what we are able to do in our community. The rate of unemployment and all of the things that feed into the social determinants of health. Put us in a very disadvantaged situation, and we're seeing it now, especially with regards to, if we start to look at where the deaths are occurring in our city because of the pandemic and so on. So it has managed to exacerbate an already, serious situation for our community. So those things trouble me. I have to admit, I'm not waking up every day and acting like if it's bacchanal because I try to find ways to like when you're a parent, you have to also bring positivity. When you're talking to young people in your community, you have to bring positivity because we can't feed them a steady dose of doom and gloom. We have to show them hope and spiritual awakening and so on. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And that is the answer. See, this is the truth, because people, we tend to ask that question, and the reason I didn't want to just say, oh, okay, because we're not really okay,
Yeah.
right? So, Janelle,
I maintain that we are excellent because, I am going on faith that we have the resilience in our community at a time when there is decimation, when there is loss of hope, when there are all of those things happening, there is simultaneously growth, development, and opportunity. So we have to see both sides of it. I definitely agree that as a community, we have a lot to do to grow, to sustain ourselves, to be healthy, to take care of ourselves, and beginning with knowing how to love and care for each other. Because a community without that does not go very far. So I am not that we're opposites to each other, because Kwame is very positive, but I think we both have a deep concern for our community. But when I say excellent, I think we have a really clear idea of what we have to do for our community. We both have a commitment and are very, very clear about our purpose, and we're doing it. And so, as far as I'm concerned, things are going in the direction that we want them to, and we are in control of that. And so, I'm not ignorant to the trials and so forth. I'm simply saying that I know we have the strength, power, resilience, courage, love, passion, and competence to be extremely successful. We're here.
I love it.
We're here.
Yeah.
Just that mere fact, considering the journeys of our ancestors, all of our ancestors, and the impacts of colonial, all the things that, considering everything that Kwame highlighted, we still dance, create, and lead. So I think we're excellent.
And you're answering a question that, is one of the questions I like to ask all my guests. Like, what does victory look like for you in your lives personally? And then for you, the added piece would be victory in the community. And I think you're speaking about some of that and why that is important, because, everybody has a different definition of victory. And I don't like to say success because that's so, oversaid. But what's that victory look like for you, Kwame, and your family to start?
Well, I would say that, that victory looks like less days where I feel as heavy as I felt today, for example. Because, it's a fluid situation. As Janelle pointed out, I am a very positive person, but, today in particular, I am feeling a little bit heavy today. You know what I mean? Which is why partnership and community is also important, because you can be uplifted by other people who are carrying the positive vibe and reminding you of all of the things that are really also happening well for our community and so on. So that's important. In terms of what victory looks like for me from a family standpoint, I think, victory looks like my children, all 5 of them, and all of the children who I have embraced, because, I have 5 biological children, but I have about 50 children. And so, it is my hope that all of my children, all of them, the 5 that I had to do with producing and all of the other 45, it is my hope that they all are able to experience a degree of 1, spiritual awakening, 2, sustainability in terms of their ability to prosper in life. And these are the environments that we want for them, because they are extremely creative. They're extremely talented. I am blessed to be surrounded by young people who every day give a really good reason for continuing to struggle and continuing to try to make the environment and the future better for them. And so it is my hope that victory for me is about the next generation, really. It's about us being able to leave the legacy, to leave the environment, leave the community in a state that allows them to be able to prosper in it. We have to end the cycle of continuous struggle that's going on with very small gains, and I think that I think that we're on the cusp now of seeing a shift. I sense it. I'm not always trusting of it, but I do sense that there is a major shift going on, and I think that that's important.
I love that. And I love that piece. And I think that's something where we're going to deep dive into. So when I think about what you said and what's happening at Adinkra Farms, but before we go to that, and let me tell you, you guys see a pen in my hand. I ain't joking, you have to take notes, because when you get a conversation like this and the nuggets get dropped, it's what we do with those nuggets that matter. Are we going to let them just fall by the wayside, but are we going to take them and make them into gold? Are we going to make them into something that the whole community can use? So when you start talking about sustainability, what does that look like? But I'm gonna pause in my own self, because you just took my mind in so many places. But Janelle, for you, what does that victory look like for you and the family?
So for me, victory looks like us being elders and inspiring and supporting and working with younger people, restoring the connections that exist in our community. I'll tell you a little story. I think it was about 10 years ago, there were some dollars flowing in the community here in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, something occurred in which young people started organizations, and that was great. However, one issue that developed was a redefinition or an attempt to redefine our relationships with young people and call us allies. Now, I was very, very clear with anyone that I would speak to at that time that don't ever talk to me about the children in my community as if I am an ally to them. I am not. I am them, first of all, just older. I am sister. I am mother. I am auntie. I am cousin. I'm daughter, whatever the case may be. That godmother, all of those things. Our roles are already defined within the context of our culture. So that kind of absolute redefinition. And so that takes me to, the second principle of Kwanzaa is kujichagulia. And there we talk about self-determination. And so I think that victory is tied to self-determination. And that example is not the only one. There's also television shows that show adults in the lives of their children as total idiots, as if getting older means that you're automatically senile, you don't know. Now, granted, I have my challenges with technology and I have to call the kids, but that does not mean I am stupid. And this is it. So there is a disrespect for the generations. And by the same token,
come on now, Janelle. Come on now.
I respect young people, highly respect, and I expect excellence from them. And that's not pressure, that's love. And that's understanding what Kwame calls the strategic plan that we need to have for our children in their lives. So victory to me would involve reparation of that intergenerational rift that is ongoing, that is destroying potentially our community's ability to move forward as a family. So I would like to see that happen. It's a very strong message that came to me. And it started when I was watching people redefining my relationship with young people in my own community. I can't, you can hear how upset it still makes
in your voice. Yeah. Like, so how do we change that? What can we as a community first do to make some of those changes? Because it starts with us, because, who knows where this I'm just telling you, people, who knows where this conversation is going to go tonight? It's going to go in some directions. Sarah is saying intergenerational respect and connection. Yes. And that is so true. How do we as a community, we are dealing with so many divisions that is happening. The lack of respect for the elders in our community, the lack of honor that is shown, the misinterpretation. How do we get some of that back? How do we claim some of that back that you're talking about, Janelle and Kwame?
Well, Tolda, I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
It's not a one-sided thing. I think we also need to respect youth and respect children and their intelligence and their role and love them and nurture them and do all of those things. So I'm saying all of that is being eroded by the redefinition of these relationships. And we need to get back to our understanding of what those relationships and restore that piece. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. By no means, I'm not trashing young people. I love them.
Yeah. I know you do, because they're all around there.
Yes, all the time.
If you are watching on the replay on the live and you don't know Kwame and Janelle, young people are probably the fabric of the clothes that you wear. If there was nothing else I could say, that would be like, if I was to look at the garment upon you, it's just wrapped in young people. So Kwame, you were gonna go in.
Yeah, well, I believe that the first thing is that we have to make a commitment to our young people.
Yeah.
And we have to make that commitment from the ones who are going to be born in the next couple of seconds, right through to the ones that are on the cusp of adulthood, and others as well, because it doesn't really stop. But in terms of dealing with our youth and our children and so on, we have to make a commitment to them, because to be quite honest, none of us needs to see ourselves as if we are somehow in competition with our youth.
Absolutely.
Our youth are the future of us.
That's right.
And so unless we plan not to have a future, we have to invest in our young people. And
but
we
it's
have
hard
to
do that, because we
Right.
hear the words all the time, we see it written, everything, and it's nicely documented. But how do we practically make that happen?
Right. So that's a good question. So first of all, the template and the cultural practices for doing so, we already have.
Right.
Okay. We don't need to wait until leaders in other communities say it takes a village to raise a child for it to become popular. I've known that since I myself am a product of being raised by a village of people. Okay, my parents, truth be told, I've lived with my parents for a total of 7 years in my entire life. Other than that, I was raised by the community. So I am a pretty good example of the fact that we all need to make a commitment to all the children, right? And so that's the beginning. And then the other thing is we have to decide what is it that we can do. Not everybody can do exactly the same thing.
Right.
We've chosen a particular path because once we understand what we need to do, we said, okay, we can do this piece.
Right.
And the piece that we can do is Adinkra Farm, which looks like constant engagement with the youth in our community, which looks like, children who started coming to our camps. Our first cohort of children who started in our camps when they were 4 years old and so on, our first cohort went to university 3 years ago.
Wow.
Okay. So and those young people, many of them remain engaged with us. Okay, they remain engaged with us. They still lean on us for advice. They still come and talk to us about things that some of them don't feel that they could necessarily talk to everybody about, and so on. And so the guidance is important. But one of the key things that I've observed is that they feel that this space where we are right now, because we have told them so and we've shown them so, they feel that this space is their home. 2 years ago, we started marveling that some of them show up without telling us they're coming, right? And you know what? But it's a beautiful thing, because what it means is that we have been able to create a home and a space at Adinkra Farm where young people in our community feel it's their safe haven.
Yeah.
They just showing up just like when you're going by
they're probably talking to each other, and planning and whatever. But sometimes they show up and we don't know that they're coming, and it's announced so and so is here. And they're gonna be here. They're gonna be here for a week.
Or Ayende, our eldest son, this summer, he just announced he's going to the train station to pick up so and so and so and so. And like, they're coming? Yeah. And so we had because we were allowed to have a certain number of people in Simcoe County where the farm is, when Toronto had less people allowed. So they were like taking advantage of that and coming up here. And I would say that one year when we had some flooding in the basement, so we didn't have our March break camp that we usually have. So we have camps for kids 5 to 15 years old. And then if you're 16, 17, so on, you work as a counselor and you run the activities and they gain experience and so on. So we didn't have it that year because of the flooding. And yet still I said yes to 3 visitors for the weekend. And by Wednesday, we had 11 children in the house.
That's right.
Sleeping over and cooking for themselves.
And during the week, we have 14 people. I I had an aha moment. I was in the kitchen cooking for them, and I was like, "But wait a second,
We're not supposed to be having
yeah,
camp.
yeah." And they're like, "No, we're just coming to visit. We know there's no camp. We're just coming to visit."
Yeah.
But one of the things that really made me feel incredibly inspired is what they did with the time here when there's no camp.
Mhm.
They still gathered at the big table.
Right.
They still had the discussions. It allowed me an opportunity to actually hear without programming and this activity and that activity. It allowed me to hear what they have in mind. I heard youth saying to each other, "Listen, when I go away to university, I'm going to make sure that I come back here enough times so that I can make sure that other young people coming up have the same opportunity that I had here at Adinkra Farm. I want everybody to know how powerful this place is."
So the
This is
iron sharpening iron is happening, and then it's automatically happening. And I think there's two things here. I think what Joan Pierce says here, the younger generation, because of technology, seems to have little respect for the older generation. And I hope we can find a way to help them remove that barrier and work together and learn from each other. So that being said, it looks like the formula, and I call it a formula right now, but the culture that you have created at Adinkra Farms is actually doing that. And so let's take a step back for a hot minute. Because the fact that these young people it's like a kingdom. I like to call Adinkra Farms the Adinkra Farm Kingdom. And Janelle was laughing at me when I said that the other day. But the reason I said that is when you have a kingdom, you have ambassadors, and those ambassadors are tasked with representing and replicating the kingdom.
yes.
And that's what is happening there. You're creating the culture of who we are and what we should be as a community. So because we have people who know about Adinkra Farms, but we have people that are going to be listening that don't know about you, don't know about Adinkra Farms. So let's as we say in Trinidad and Tobago, which we are technically all from, either by birth, by parents, because there's a mix-up thing happening here. So everybody might think Kwame born in Trinidad, but we won't tell. Well, yeah, you could tell him where you're really born, but he really, Janelle is the same thing. So
No, I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
yeah.
I was not.
And we know you was not, even though that's why you have the baritone and you have the all kind of tone. We need some voiceover work for you. Anybody out there who's hiring voiceovers, I am Kwame Williams' agent. And I work closely with Janelle Skerritt, and we're going to be, being his people to get him some other work out there. But on the other note, what is Adinkra Farm? Let's talk about that for a minute, and then we're going to go into Kwanzaa and all that kind of stuff. But what is Adinkra Farm? Because I think this really, and why did you start it? Because that really puts some context into community, and everything else that you're doing and why you're doing it. And when you answered the question about what's victory and what's victory in a community, it speaks to this, and it speaks to even Joan's question. So let's start at the genesis of Adinkra Farms.
So I want to touch on one little thing that I want to make sure that we get across. So what we're saying, and it really is what Adinkra Farm is as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one of the important things is that those of us who love our children and love the young people in our community, we have to show them that. We have to show them that.
It's up to us.
You see, we are in the lead. We have to show them that. And so one of the reasons, it is my observation that, all young people get to ages in their life where they push back, it's part of the growth that they're supposed to have. But if the foundation of love is secure, we can weather that. And
Right.
so, you see what I'm saying? And so the same is true for how they behave later as well, right? So the first thing is that we need to make sure that we show them love. And I don't mean just your own children.
Yes.
Any children that come into your environment, um, should be shown a degree of love and caring.
And stop leaving the children at home.
What does
Take
that
them
look
with
like,
you.
Kwame and Janelle? Because
Don't leave the children
love
home.
is
Take them with
all
you.
over the place. What does love show up like? What does that
Right.
really look like?
So the reason I started there, Nicole, is that, if somebody asks me what is a Adinkra Farm,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm gonna say a Adinkra Farm is love.
Mm.
Really, it is the foundation of a Adinkra Farm. It's
Love
love.
in action. I think I would say
Love in action,
love in
exactly.
action.
Love
Yeah.
in action. It is born out of a need and a desire to show young people in our community love, and to give them a place where they feel love when they're there. And don't get me wrong, we're not the only people doing this. We belong to a community
Mm.
of people who are showing the young people love. In fact, our own children, as you know firsthand, our own children have experienced the love of others in our community as well. So, but it is this idea, that we need to make sure that we show the young people love, and from birth, and that anywhere they go in the community, that they will experience a certain degree of love and caring. We've moved into this sort of mode that is not our own culture, that looks like, you say something to a young child, oh, don't put your foot there, and the parent comes over to tell you that, mind your business is not your child. That's not our community. It's not our community at all. That's not our culture, I should say. That is
Right.
not our
So
culture.
let me answer your question more directly. Adinkra Farm, we're located between Wasaga Beach and Barrie in a small town called New Lowell. It's a 42-acre property, and we purchased it partly because we were fulfilling a long-term vision that when in his bio it wasn't mentioned, but Quammie was in the group Truths and Rights, which was a reggae group. And their motto was to create in relation to the struggle of our people. And they had conversations about owning a place where they could grow organic food and also welcome the community and so on. And so this is part of that vision. And then adding me to the mix, I had a very strange reaction to subdivision living and so on. I love living in the country. And so when we were house hunting, when we moved up here, we fell in love with this property. And because, as you mentioned, I do work in rites of passage, and I've been a community activist protesting and now community working in community in many different ways, and volunteering and tutoring and all of those things. We always struggle for space and place and belonging here in Canada. And so the opportunity to own land, and I know that there are many other people who do it as well, but I think there's an opportunity to own land and also to nurture the concepts of ownership and, like I say, kujichagulia, self-determination within our community. So what Adinkra Farm is about, we have 3 pillars. One is reclaim, one is build, and the third is grow. And in reclaim, we aim to reclaim our connection to the land, our connection to our culture, some of those connections that I talked about earlier around intergenerational development, and also some of the traditions. So that's why we run the Susu. We have a campaign right now where we're raising money to build cabins on the property. And part of the reason that we're doing that as well is to say that this community, just like the kids feel that ownership who have been here for camp and so on, will feel a sense of ownership and have the opportunity to come and be here in their own space. So that's underway, and that's part of reclaiming. Then there's building, which is the build project itself. So in the build, we're talking about building an institution. So we want to be a reliable part of the community, a sustainable entity in the community. It's not something that dies with Kwame and I, but the kids and the community has a stake in what happens at Adinkra Farm. So it's an institution that we intend to build. And it literally means build, because when we put up the cabins, they're going to be prefab cabins. So we're going to have a couple of days where people will be invited to come and actually help build. And the final one is grow, which is not only about growing food and that sort of thing, but it is also about personal growth and about community growth. So we say that Adinkra Farm is a place to reclaim, build, and grow a sustainable community.
That is power and full. It's not just powerful, it's power and full. It's filled up, man. It's filled up. So you have youth coming there, you talked about camps and stuff. So what are the activities that you have intentionally, because you guys are always intentionally put into Adinkra Farms with this? And I know the future is the cabins, and we definitely need to put that in its own little box and expand on that some more. But what happens up there?
So we welcome staff groups, we welcome adults, we welcome spiritual retreats. We have yet to have a men's only retreat, but I see that in the vision as well. We've had a few women's retreats. We've had organizations that are just starting up, and they come to do organizational development work away from their normal setting, and it enables us to do team building and really get creative about how we talk about it. And we also do these things from an African-centered perspective. So we understand and are continually studying and being grounded in African ways of doing things. And we know that Africa is a continent with many countries.
Can we say Africa is a continent again, please?
Africa is a continent. And so I personally have studied the Akan tradition, which is from many of the different countries within West Africa, but mostly grounded in Ghanaian culture and Malenke culture, Ashanti. We also borrow from some of the traditions of Eastern African countries and Southern African countries. So we're learning and we're growing, and so those are the kinds of things that happen here at the farm. And I don't know if you
I think that there's opportunity here for spiritual growth, opportunity here for growth and leadership, because in our community we need to be nurturing another generation and future leaders in the community, because it requires leaders, it requires strong leaders, committed leaders, and it requires people to understand how leadership works, because we have a bit of a dichotomy in our community where people are very mistrusting of those with leadership ability sometimes. And we also have a situation where, people have a problem following leadership, right? And I could tell you, as much as I've been blessed with, some leadership skills myself and so on, that were identified in me by my community. I'm a leader because my community made me so. But I am always able to follow someone else's lead too. And to
that's the beauty of being a servant leader, because a servant leader can serve, lead, and that's the community part of it. But the piece that I want you also to add, however, the piece I would like you to expand on to, Ginelle and Kwame, is the fact that groups, even though they can have their own facilitators, you actually are facilitators, and that's unique thing that you can bring somebody to the farm.
Yes, so both Janelle and I, have invested some time in studying, various disciplines that we believe are helpful not only to our community, but to businesses even outside of our community and so on. So my specialty is in organizational development, governance, entrepreneurship and so on. Janelle's is in communications and leadership practice. That's why we offer things like public speaking and so on.
Right.
So and also too, we work with a network of really talented people in our community who at any time we can ask to participate in the offerings that we have here at Adinkra Farm, to enrich them for other people and so on. And people have been very, very gracious in terms of us being able to hire them
Yeah.
to come in and participate and give their talent and so on.
I love that about you because you guys are always giving back. So that's the one big part. What about for the young people? Because you said camps, like what else it is in terms of the young people that you do for the young people and youth?
Yeah.
Say children, because some of the children might say, I am not a child,
Yeah.
The 5-year-olds and the 8-year-olds, because you said you have the camp, but when COVID is over, before COVID, what did you have for children in place?
Yeah, so just to give an understanding of the shape of those camps and the interaction, when the children are, we've had children as young as 3, but generally they start at about 5.
Okay.
And when they're children, they're learning the principles of African culture. They're learning the principles of African identity. They're participating in games that are put together in such a way to create an interest in them wanting to learn more and more about Africa. So we created a version of Jeopardy that we call African Jeopardy, and so in many ways, the leaders get together and put those questions together, and so they have to learn too. I have to give a shout out to one of our absolute stars of African Jeopardy is a young man named Andwele, and from the time he was 5 years old, he beats the pants off everybody. He's just the guy.
He knows his
he knows his
African
stuff.
Jeopardy
He
stuff.
knows his
So
stuff.
we created some games, and we also created an entire curriculum around the camp.
Exactly.
So for example, I can give an example of one of the years where we did a camp that was about the tradition of masquerade and calypso and so on. So the kids were involved in learning, first of all, about the arts involved in the carnival arts. So they learned about wire bending, and they learned about stick fighting, and they learned about calendar, and they learned about calypso and the evolution to soca. They learned about pan. They learned and what they had to do was create a band that would play in a masquerade, and one group of them wrote a calypso, and so they were involved in every aspect of creating it over the course of the week. So it's an overnight camp. They arrive on Monday and they leave on Friday, and on Friday there's a showcase for the parents. Another year we did and the theme was based on the Sparrow tune about education. And so another year we did, because everybody was dancing to Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars, and we said, well, you know what, you got to hear some funk, right? And so we went into the history of funk music and where it came from, and so they were getting down to Parliament Funkadelic, James Brown.
We started with the roots. They learned what a funk bass line is. They learned about Larry Graham and his contribution to slapping the bass and all of those things that became mainstays of funk music. They learn it. Even now, some of them, they'll be listening to some music and they'll be like, Uncle Kwame, listen, that's a funk bass line. You hear that? You know what I mean? So, and I also want to say that, when they move on, they become 14 years old or so. Then there's another stage that we call leaders in training. Now we had to invent this as kids aged up and then wanted to keep on coming, right? So they become leaders in training. And then after leaders in training, where they're learning how to basically run the camp, they're learning to take responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. After leaders in training, they become counselors.
And at every stage, we took a step back and allowed them to take more control. But even from the beginning, it was always that even we would have the activities planned, but the kids would always have a choice as to what they did first. So we would they would have a role in determining that. There is one other camp activity that I don't want to leave this topic without talking about, and that is the year that we did the business. Right. So then we had a council of elders, and we did a sort of a version of the Dragon's Den. So in teams, they had to create a business idea that would resolve an issue facing African communities. And so they developed and created, and they had to do research, and they had to really think about what are the issues, problems, or challenges that we're having as African people. And I think the one that I remember most was the group that chose to address the problem of clean water. And so they developed a business that would create a way to purify water, bottle it, and then sell it on the Western market, because everybody was buying bottled water, right? And then those funds would go back into the communities and build well and water purification systems on the continent. I mean, it was just brilliant. And so they had to pitch their idea. They had to talk about how it would make money and so on. We also had them create drones from scratch, and we also had them creating a solar powered battery from scratch.
And by the way, as I said, we have a lot of support. There's some brilliant people in our community. Like my brother Ian's son came and did the drone making with them, and Gigi came and
did the battery,
the solar.
So that's it too. We also wanted to place we not place, but we wanted to make sure that they understood that Black women are in technology, Black women are in science. We had a young Black woman teaching them martial arts. We've had them have capoeira instruction and so on. So as much as we can, and all of this, by the way, is donated time and effort by our community, because the cost of the camp has been maintained at about $250 for the week, and that includes all the food, the overnight accommodation, and so forth. And if you know anything about an overnight camp, you can't really get one for less than about $800 to $800 a week. So that's amazing.
And
wait a minute.
Are you speaking, Nicole? We can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say one more thing about our camp, and that is, apart from the fact that each camp is themed, there's a really important feature of our camp that I would be remiss in not mentioning, and that is what we call the visiting elder. And every time we have a camp, because our aim is to mend those bridges, to put our elders in a position to be respected by the young people, and to encourage the young people to respect the elders in the community. And so we have a visiting elder. We've had a number of really amazing people who are our visiting elders. On the day of the visiting elder visit, the young people are responsible for making the guest room available, putting all the things in there that is going to make them comfortable, creating a gift for them. They're responsible for preparing their chair for them to sit. And I've seen some incredible versions of what a comfortable chair looks like. One year they had a red sort of cloth laid out for the elder to walk to their chair on, with petals and things like that. But the key is that they understand and they learn that they have to treat elders with respect and love as well. And elders will give information that is valuable. So
Yes.
we have every single time we do this, when the time that's allocated for the elders to speak with the young people, both the elders and the young people don't want to leave each other. So, sometimes we're trying to move on to the next activity, and the elder ends up staying with us and participating. So just so that they could continue some of the conversations. And
Listen, I feel I might have to take off the head tie. All I don't, I flabbergasted, okay? Because what you're offering is priceless. The price people are paying is next to none.
yeah,
And that people are giving up their time, and that this isn't funded the way that should be funded breaks my
yeah,
heart. And I
yeah.
think
But but sorry,
anybody
go ahead.
listening on the replay and on the live, I really encourage you. You know, I'm talking to Janelle and Janelle and Kwame right here from Adinkra Farms, and I encourage you to share this live, because it's important for people to know that there are people in our community that are investing in our youth, that are speaking of our eldership, that are appreciating our ancestry, our culture, and bringing it forward. And it's not just, and the resources are needed for the work to continue at the level that it really needs to. So more young people and more adults and young adults and even older adults, and the healing can happen. I always say that right now, we have been bleeding while leading for years, and the healing has to happen. And you are definitely, doing that healing there. And Sarah says, a truly precious and unique experience for our young people. Kudos. And it is true, because I don't think a lot of people understand who you are. You're like that. You remember I said, Kwame, that if somebody doesn't know you, they're hidden under a rock. Well, I think a lot of people are hiding under rocks because they don't know about Adinkra Farms and what you guys are doing. And we need to change that from today. So
I want to just say, Nicole, that when we're talking about support, uh, money is only part of it. And so I don't want it to sound like an appeal for funds.
Oh, no. This is not, I know
Oh,
you don't
okay.
other people. I am saying
Oh,
that
okay.
people need to be aware of what you're doing and put the necessary resources, contact the Adinkra Farms and find out the resources that are needed. And know that there is investment happening from you two and other people in the community into our community.
So
Because
let me just express it this way, Nicole. It is that the wealth that we are building is not only monetary. That is part of it, because the food costs money and the electricity costs money and the land costs money. But equally important to us is to have the resources of our community being used to grow and sustain our community. So the sweat equity, as they call it, or the contributions that people make. So that's why, that's the cost to camp. But you know what? The other parts, like you say, are priceless. The time that we invite the elder and say it's only a half an hour on the program, and they end up talking to the kids for 3 hours, there's no price for that.
yeah, it's
Right?
priceless.
So
What you guys are offering is priceless.
yes.
Yeah,
And
I
people need
want.
to know the people in our community. Like when I'm thinking about COVID and I'm like, you've had to stop certain things, making sure that this still continues, that the work that you're doing is continuing to happen, and finding the ways, whether it's, how are you managing with COVID now to make sure that this work that is, and I know, I say work for lack of a better term, but what you're doing, this investment in self, this investment in your family, this investment in community, and in which is in essence investment in our country and our world, continues. So with COVID, what have you been able to do?
So I'll answer that for you, Nicole. But before you go there, I just want to make one point, and that is, it is our aspiration that people in our communities across the country
Mm-hmm.
take this model.
Yes.
We listen, we will send them everything they need to duplicate and then grow from it what we do at Adinkra Farm. Because the idea, we've spent the time, we spent 20 years creating this particular model that we're describing to you. And you know what? And it can evolve, but we're happy to share what we've developed so far with anyone in Canada who wants to do this, right? Because we think that at the end of the day, the most important thing is that the opportunities that we've been able to create for our young people and test, and they've helped us to build it. We didn't create that model by ourselves. That we need to share this with anyone, and so we're happy. I just want to put that out to people that we're happy to share, the model of how we do the camps and how we do the engagement and what we teach, what we have found. Because doing it for 2 decades, there's certainly some intellectual property that we have ourselves from it and so on. We're happy to share all that, right? So back to your question now, in terms of how we manifest what we do in the pandemic situation. So first of all, we stay strictly within all of the guidelines. It's been an exercise in creativity,
Right.
as we are all doing, right? Many of us have moved to an online forum, and we find ways to communicate with each other. We have to continue doing that. The other thing is, for example, for some of the young people in our community, we had a socially distanced graduation.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that being on a farm with some more space than you may find in city homes and so on, we were able to do that, and those young people really felt that they didn't have to miss their graduation, right? We have a principal in the family, and that principal came up, and officiated the graduation ceremony, right? And it was totally socially distanced. Everybody was covered as they should be, and so on. So it was a beautiful thing, and that's something we believe that those young people are not going to forget. They're going to remember that. Look, adults went the extra mile to care about how we would feel about missing graduation. They went the extra mile to organize it. Somebody who was a principal came up so that we actually had a principal at our graduation, and so, right? And you know what I mean? So those are some of the ways in which we're dealing with the pandemic and coming up with creative ideas to circumvent it. But always, we stay really within the guidelines. And the guidelines aren't the same in the city as it is out where we are all the time, because sometimes
we don't have as high
we're
a rate
experiencing
of
a different
transmission,
we're experiencing a different phase of the pandemic. So, and I must say, we've had it a little bit easier than our brothers and sisters in the city itself, because the other day I totally forgot how Toronto was locked down, and I went to the IKEA, sat in the parking lot until opening time. It was so funny. I sat in the parking lot,
and then there was no opening time.
I sat in the parking lot of the IKEA till opening time. I'm watching only staff come. The visitors area is kind of blocked off. So finally, and I'm doing some work, while I wait for it to open. And finally, I asked one person. I said, "Listen, are you guys actually opening or any?" And they said, "No. As of today, till the end of the year, we're
locked
We're
down.
on lockdown, right?
We're locked up.
But I totally forgot, because stores in Barrie were still functioning. So yeah.
Good. So we're gonna we know that the P word. We're gonna do the P word. We're gonna pivot.
Okay.
So gonna get a little personal. So you guys are living together and now working together even more closer than before. How do you manage that as a couple? Because with COVID, we're hearing about the challenges couples are having, because they're more together than they were before, and families are having, and some people are having breakups and divorces and all sorts of stuff, and family wars. Now, so you have a recipe, and I think I want to bring some more. We're gonna have a couple show, and we're gonna share. We're gonna bring on like a Joan Pierre, and bring on like a Gloria Small with a Quammie and Ginelle, and we're gonna have the relationship panel because it's needed. So what are some of your secrets to keeping the love alive? And we could see the spiciness happening there. That little tight up, looking tight and nice right there.
So I have to say, one thing that's really important. I mean, I'm not a young person anymore, but one thing that I think is really important for young people is observe closely the behavior of the older couples that you want to have a relationship like. Observe them. Those are lessons in life. Yes. And and before me, a little bit ahead of me, not only in terms of coupling, but actually, especially in terms of parenting, some of my, some of my teachers, in terms of observing people who are a little bit ahead of me, one of them is, I heard you mention her a couple of times. So you have to understand the role. I don't even think they know the degree to which I observe them.
Say the name.
I will. I'm not keeping you in suspense. But
yes, you are.
But listen, I'm a good storyteller. So I have to say, Anthony Pierre and Joan Pierre. Look, there's no. I will never be able to thank them for the role modeling that they gave to me as a young man.
Hold on.
Yes. I like it. I like it.
All right.
I like it. And so I'm not like that. I'm not espousing a theory that I myself haven't done. I looked at also my own parents. I had parents who they're a little bit strange because they were boyfriend and girlfriend from the age of 10 who got married,
Wow.
And so, yeah, that's a little odd. It's not normally like that. But
and not surprisingly, I have a completely different story because my parents were actually divorced. And what I learned from that experience is that you really need to love yourself and you really need to be clear about what you want. And so this person is sitting to my right, I guess your left, because I had a list.
Pause a minute. Joan Pierre say you guys have me blushing, which means she crying and all kind of thing happening.
Oh.
Yes. Well, it's the truth.
It's the truth.
But I had a list, and on that list were 44 very clear
45.
requirements.
Oh gosh.
45.
45.
Okay, 45. I remember 44 requirements, and what I remember is that when he came along, he met all 44, and then I added some. That's what happened. But in any case, all those 44 requirements he had to meet, and
she actually had them written down.
I did.
And
checked it off like worse than Santa Claus.
She had them. Because she was telling me about having this. I have a list and so and so, and I'm thinking this is a sort of a list in her head, a list in her head, and then on one of our first meetings,
in a box.
she said, "Would you like to see the list?" and these sheets of paper I think they were originally white, but by the time I saw them,
I was not that old.
They were yellow.
Oh gosh.
Which kind of told me that they were written a very, when she was quite young. So, but no, she had a list.
I did.
And I can't speak to that because I think there's something to be said for that though. Like knowing what you want,
Yeah.
But I think Nicole's question is more about
how do we sustain?
How are people sustaining? Yeah.
But not how are you sustaining? Because how you're sustaining is going to help others learn how to sustain.
Yeah. So
you guys, you guys fight with love. Like when you
Yeah.
have a disagreement, right? I shouldn't even say just fight with love. I'll reverse that. And Trinidad, we say reverse back. Hold on, let me reverse back a second. You guys
Yes.
fight with honor.
Yeah.
Fight with honor.
Honor.
Honor. Okay.
Disagree with honor, because you don't really fight. You
Yeah.
don't really fight.
So I can
No,
I can explain what I think is going on. And I'm never
Listen to hear what
I'm
you
never
think.
100% sure because I'm not able to kind of take a backseat and observe my own relationship that well. But I think what I see and what I observe is this. I think that there's a commitment to the family, to the partnership
Mm,
that nothing can shake.
Yes.
wow.
So everything is put in an order of priority. So when there's a disagreement, and there's often many, when there's a disagreement, that disagreement will never be placed in an order of priority that puts it above family, partnership, the commitment to seeing through what we've agreed to see through, both in terms of our own children and our community.
So pause right there. Pause, Kwame Williams. So does that mean that you and Janelle actually sat down and had that conversation and made an agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, it
didn't
didn't necessarily happen in one conversation,
Yeah,
right?
well, of course, yeah.
Yeah. But there has to be an agreement that you have. It sometimes it's an agreement in values that, look, you know what? No matter what, we're going to live these values.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to raise our children in these values, and so because of that, we're never going to do this and this in front of them because that's contrary to the values that we have already decided. You see?
Can I say that also? We share that love of children and that understanding of what of the priorities. So some of the things on my list included that I was looking for someone who had the same financial priorities that I do.
Right.
So I'm not going to be worried. I'm not going to be thinking, oh, let's own a farm, and he's thinking, let's buy
a boat.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we were really we had those kinds of conversations around that affirmed for me that we shared similar priorities around finances, around family, and all of those kinds of things. So those things were fundamental, and so therefore, even if, like, I can tell you that sometimes, even if we might have an argument, like over something as silly as okay, I'm very particular about my bed. I like having sheet sets that are together. Like, so I don't want the yellow sheet set to come on the bed with the purple sheet.
Of course not.
No, it has to be the set together. He don't care about all that
at all.
It's just matching, and he don't care. Yeah.
Right.
So
that will get me very upset. And we'll look at each other and have a laugh at the things that we argue about, because they are just stupidness. when it comes down to it, they're just
this is the point, right? This is the point. Once you prioritize what is really important,
right,
then nothing of those arguments or whatever they may be for the day or so and so, none of them can actually cause a shifting of those priorities because you've kind of already agreed to those. And I think that's the discipline, really. The discipline is that, you're not going back to revisit your priorities every time you have an argument.
You're right.
Right? Those priorities they're intact.
They're embedded. So what I'm hearing is it's so embedded in you. There's a commitment to it, and
correct,
and it's intentional, and they ain't no going back. So how are we gonna figure this out? This ain't gonna break up this.
Correct. Exactly.
And I think that during COVID, it's been such a pleasure to get to spend time. We can, You know, we used to have to have a date while going to pick up the kids in the car. So that's like our date for half an
Mhm.
hour together alone, right? Now we've gotten to spend much more time alone together. And I think maybe, you know, this is not the solution for everybody because each relationship is unique. But I think it came at a time when we have one son in university, one son just starting high school. And so we're kind of looking at each other and all that stuff you do when the kids are small
Yes.
and you're very, very busy, it's done. And so now you're kind of looking at each other and saying, oh, you're there, okay, well, you know, what do you want to do? I don't know. If it doesn't involve the kids, it's almost like, well, so we actually have a date that COVID interrupted, which was to go away together for a few days, and COVID interrupted that. So we keep stealing an afternoon every now and then we say to each other, but this is not the day. You know, this is not that day. Right.
So
This is
you're intentionally having dates. I love this. You know, we definitely, I feel, and Joan Pierre, you're listening. I hope you're listening. Please tell your husband what I said. I really think it would be so great to have a conversation. And if you guys agree with me there in the live and on the replay, show me with your hearts or your thumbs up or your thumbs down. If it would be good to have a conversation with the wise couples
yeah.
on, you know, managing relationships and going through those things, because I think we need such that healing. So many singles in our community. I mean, I am the single one too, so hey, I could learn. And I also emulate. I learn from Joan and Tony, you know. And but sometimes we forget to look intentionally and have those real conversations. How do you navigate this when this happens? What should we do? And how to set, you know, realizing that we also need to do a business plan, as we say, or a vision plan for our
Yeah.
families. We do
Yeah.
vision plans for businesses, but we're not doing vision plans for families, and we're not teaching it. So Joan Pierre says she hears me. Wonderful. So I'm going to be cognizant of your time, because you know I could talk to Joan and Kwame and Janelle for hours. And those of you joining us on the live and the replay, welcome to Victory Speaks Inspired Conversation. This is, you know, a time where I love to share some of the people that have been in my life for a long time and some new people that have come along the way and the inspirations that they've given me. Keith Cunningham is saying 100%. Keith, oh, so good to see you. So commenting. And I know you're going through your time, so we're loving on you right now. Joan Pierre says, I hear you, Nicole. Joan says also agree 100%. So thank you for your comments. If you have any questions, but I'm so loving these conversations because it shows even the diversity of conversations we need to have live and publicly in our community. So I want to go to Kwanzaa, but there was something you said, and I think maybe it will lead into Kwanzaa. You mentioned earlier on leadership and trust and distrust. And the two of you are elders in our community as well. Not that you're old, but the wisdom that you come with. And we are going through situations in our community that is breaking up and having an effect on those who lead and who've been advocating in our community. And so, how can we start this healing process that needs to take place, or this lack of respect and honor for leaders who are taking the beating and who are fighting the fight? The lawyers, the doctors, the politicians are going in there that have gone, and then, you know, out comes somebody or people who don't like them and just pull them down. How do we stop pulling down our community? Well, we
Okay.
say we need to unify. I know it's
Yeah.
a
So
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, so I get it. I'm just gonna go back to the thing before, because there's one thing I was about to mention. I was kind of waiting for a opportunity, and I just want to add that to it, which is that with regards to families, especially those families where there are children,
Mm.
the children have to be the focal point of the family.
Mm.
That is actually
Or the
almost, it
relationship
is
if
of,
you're
or
not
of the
living
relation. It
together.
is
Yeah.
almost a formula for the success,
Right.
right? Because what it does is put everything in perspective. You know, if the children are the focal point and the center of the family unit, and it is for them that the family unit is together, if that is the case, it's very difficult, or more difficult, to get up after an argument and simply, abandon situation, because the reason that we're doing it hasn't been addressed, right? So I just
But
want to.
the two parents would have to really have that
Correct. Yes,
agreement,
they have to make
and
that.
this is how it shows up. So
Yes.
I am booking you now. Look in your calendars, because I think we have to do a deep dive into this piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to
Absolutely.
do a deep
But
dive.
I just wanted to share that because it is such a foundation of our relationship,
Yes.
right? And so much so that we have such a commitment to the children that we actually can embrace other children, right? Who become like our children, because our foundation, the way we live, is with the children at the center of it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share that, right?
And it's understandable that the children are victims. Yeah.
And this is, if you go most places in the African continent, if you look at the traditional beliefs, this is how it is. This is how it is, right? This is how it is. Anyway, so moving on to your next point,
and
which
if it's too big, it might be too big a topic for tonight, but I would just like some ideas of how we can even do some healing as a community. And I think this is where we can probably even come into Kwanzaa and what your guys are doing, Kwanzaa and the Adinkra Farms.
Yeah. So I think that I think that one of the things that is the beginning of healing is acknowledgement of wrong or acknowledgement of hurt. You see what I mean? So one of the things we have to do is we have to acknowledge the hurt we feel. We have to be honest about it, right? The other thing is we have to be willing to forgive the folks who have caused us grievances. We have to do that, because no one can experience healing if they are still carrying the burden of vengeance. And you see what I'm saying? So those two things are foundational when it comes to the healing of a community, right? And people have to exhibit they have to want to exhibit a degree of understanding for people and the mistakes that they may make, et cetera, et cetera. We tend to be a very judgmental community, and in many ways, excuse me, we are taking all of the harsh racism of a systemic and other nature, and we are internalizing it and spitting it back at each other. And this is a major issue in our community. We have victim behavior. There's no doubt about that. We have
which is why we have to learn to be who we are.
Correct.
We have to understand what our culture is, and we have to live our culture. Our culture is not a cancel culture. Our culture, we live on the principles of Sankofa. It's never too late to go back and fetch it. It's never too late to apologize. We live in harmony. We live in peace. We celebrate the human qualities. We believe in redemption. All of those things. So there's the big things that are happening in our community now on the national stage. These things, we are aware of them. We are aware of the need for truth. We are aware of the need for justice, but everyone needs to be embraced as part of our community. It doesn't matter what their sins are, sorry to use that word, but
mistakes.
What their mistakes may be, right? Yeah. Because that's the thing, is that this is who we are, and they are our brothers, sisters, children. Like I said before, aunt, uncle, our relationships are defined already, and so we just have to live into those. And so, in a sense, to me, I will say to people, if you pray, now's the time to pray for these people. Right? If you meditate, we need to meditate on a vibration of love and forgiveness and what is going to happen. And I'm pretty sure that all of those that fight for the truth and honor of our community will always have our community behind them, because we can see that. So we know the truth, and that's part of knowing ourselves, and we know what's real, and we're going to support that, and we're going to stand up and be there, because I believe we're resilient and I believe we're capable. So we already know the answer to your question. It's not a tough question, Nicole, because I think we know what it takes to
Right.
love ourselves and to love our community. It's just to do it now. And it's hard to do it when you're feeling resentment and you're feeling anger and all those things, but we know what to do.
And I think, and I hear you, Janelle and Kwame, it's just like I listened to, a young person today say that after what they've been through, he said that he didn't want to be a lawyer anymore.
Yeah.
And the hurt was so much. And so definitely we might have to do a series with Janelle and Kwame. Y'all might need your own show. I'm just saying. Because the information and the wisdom that you're sharing here and the healing that has to take place and the reinvestment and the re-energizing of those that are weary and those that are hurt and the young people who are just disillusioned by what they have experienced or are experiencing. We need to teach the elders who don't know how to bring them into the fold, how to come into the fold. And then we need to teach the young people how to, even forgive, when we err, because we have erred in some of our ways. And saying all of that, let's do Kwanzaa. So because Kwanzaa, is starting on December 26th, and I'm not going to assume a lot of people everybody knows about Kwanzaa, but no matter where you are, what color, creed, or race, not everybody knows about their culture and where things have come from. So as long as I've known you guys, which is a pretty heck of a long time, we still look 25, but we've known each other over 25 years. Sarah saying let me just say this thing here. Sarah saying we've done this for generations through enslavement, colonialism, Jim Crow, etc. We're resilient.
Absolutely, Sarah. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. So you've always been doing Kwanzaa. Now you took it to the next level because your house used to be overflowing when you guys were in a house.
Yeah.
In the town. Mm-hmm. Now you're out in the wild west, north or south.
The wild northwest.
The northwest. But tell us about Kwanzaa and then what you do at Adinkra Farms and why you do it.
So I'll just try to give you the synopsis of Kwanzaa. So it is a celebration that is loosely based on celebrations that occur on the African continent to celebrate the harvest. And many of them take place between December and February. And so there are certain traditions that go with that. So it is a celebration of the first fruits of the harvest, and that's why it occurs at the beginning of the year, because it is to celebrate the first fruits of the next year. So we're going into 2021. There are 7 days, 7 principles, and 7 symbols. So the candles that you see behind us there are in a kanara. Kanara is one symbol, the candles are another symbol. Right, and the colors of the bandera, which are the red, black, and green, are the colors of the Pan-African flag. And so the black symbolizes the people, the red, the struggle, and the green, the land, and our belonging to that land. So each day starts with, each day represents a principle. Umoja in Kiswahili meaning unity is the first day. So Umoja, we will be celebrating on the 26th of December this year. And you will be hosting on behalf of the consortium. It isn't just Adinkra Farm, but we pull together groups. So a different book list, African Food Basket that is celebrating is that their 25th anniversary this year. Yes. And Adinkra Farm is actually celebrating our 10th anniversary on the property this year. We will also have ACHA, which is the African Canadian Heritage Association, CAFCAN, Community Services, Young and Potential Fathers, the Vaughan Caribbean African Association, and Delta is coming on board as well.
Okay, we just had
we just had a call today saying that the Barry Afro-Caribbean Association will also do something. And we're waiting word right now to see if we will have Macpri from Ghana doing a presentation, as well as the African and Caribbean people who live in Iqaluit would be sending Kwanzaa greetings.
And Dr. Vibe is going to host.
And Dr. Vibe is hosting on the Night of Unity, which is the 26th of December.
Yeah.
So what we've done is every evening from 7 to 9, from the 26th of December to January 1st. Oh yes, I failed to mention that the Jam fam, Osborne James family, from their home will also be hosting a Kwanzaa. So it's a mix of organizations and families coming together to organize to celebrate each night of Kwanzaa. So we're really looking forward to doing it that way, and to providing the community with a virtual space to come and celebrate together from 7 to 9, from the 26th to the 1st. So there will be breakout rooms, there'll be opportunity to play games, to hear and see performances. Fiwi Groove is another organization that will be a dance organization from the Durham area that will be featured as well, featuring a dance performance. So that's what we have set for Kwanzaa this year.
Yeah, and just perhaps a little bit about Kwanzaa's history in struggle. And so in the 60s, in the midst of the extremely violent and disruptive civil rights struggle in the U.S. I don't know, people, if they're sort of my age, I guess, might remember that when we were children, you had the riots in Los Angeles, the Watts riots, and so on. So it is out of that Kwanzaa was formed as a way to bring African people in that particular community into an opportunity to start to look outside of the violence and poverty and all of those things, and look at reclaiming, in a sense, some of these values that we've had for centuries that have taken us somewhere, and so I know there's sometimes people are like, well, it's not an African festival because it didn't come from Africa, but listen, we are African people all over the world. We have a universal experience, and in the same way that for some years Bob Marley was the most famous artist in Africa, on the continent. And that is African music that made its way back. And in the same way, now, there are people on the African continent who are celebrating Kwanzaa. So I want people to, open their minds a little bit, not fall prey to some of the things that are often said or created to divide us. We are a creative people. We will rekindle our culture anytime we choose. I dare say that some of the reason why people try to see this division about whether it's an African festival or not and all this is because they realize that it's powerful, and it actually brings into play some really incredible principles that have been with our people in many parts of the continent for thousands of years. So, I definitely, I've been celebrating Kwanzaa myself for 40 years. I've been celebrating for 40 years. Yeah. And so all of the children I have ever had grew up celebrating Kwanzaa. I did it, in my early 20s, and now I'm in my 60s and I'm still celebrating Kwanzaa. And it is extremely important for the community to take the opportunity to celebrate some of those principles that Kwanzaa espouses. That's very, very important. I see Kwanzaa as more important for children than anybody else.
Right.
Because remember, and I say this to people all the time, remember that, what we do for our children every day, we are creating the memories they are going to have when they are adults. You know, when you look back and you say, oh, I remember my grandma and my grandpa used to get around and do this. And all of us are fueled by
Right.
by memories that we carry from our childhood.
Yeah.
So we must remember that we are creating the memories for our children every day.
So my grandmother used to say, I see Sarah's comment there, and my grandmother used to say it like this: "Cat born in oven don't make bread." So, so we are African people. We are of African descent. If we create something, it is an African thing.
Absolutely.
And so
Say that
again,
Janelle. Say that again, Janelle. Let them hear it again.
I'm saying, cat born in oven don't make bread. And we are African people. If we create something, we are creating it.
Yeah, that come on there, the calypso. You see that? Right. Go ahead. No.
That's my telephone ring.
Yeah, and this is not rocket science.
Right.
It's only used, those kinds of divisionism are really only used when people want to be of detriment to our community.
Right.
And
Right.
unfortunately, some people in our community, you know, who are not necessarily well, will pick it up and run with it, because, you know, I'm a musician. So for me, you know, when I met, you know, I studied with a Ghanaian professor for a bit at York in the music department. And, you know, when I remember how much he told me about the fact that the popular music in Ghana in his childhood, or in his young manhood, I should say, was calypso. This guy knew all these spiral calypsos, all the Kitchener calypso. And I'm saying, and he said, no, this was our popular music, right?
Shut the front door.
Right, because, you know, there's a universality, right? It's the reason that, you know, it's the reason that Cuban music has made its way back to the Congo, to the point now, you know, where you have, you know, artists like Ricardo Lemvo and so on, who, when you hear them, it is a total fusion of Congolese and Cuban music. They don't even break stride. They actually have created this hybrid where they go back and forth with ease, right? And this is us. This is us.
And we need to know, we need to be able to recognize us, so that it's not sold and repackaged back to us as something else. So.
Correct. Or that when we are looking at our own thing staring us in the face, that we're allowing somebody else to tell us,
what the heck,
that's not that's not it. You know what I'm saying? When you're seeing it, when you're seeing all of the same principles, when you're seing all of the vestiges, right? And
I feel as though we're going way over time, Nicole.
Yeah. And what I love about Kwanzaa too is that it is evolving as we go. We're creating it. You know, we're creating it. You'll find now that you know, music is a major part of our festivals and so on. And so people are creating the music for it. You know, I myself, along with you know, Sister Tiki and
Tando Jaime,
you know, a number of of artists,
Lizzie
you know,
Mahashi.
created Lizzie Mahashi, bless her soul, created music for Kwanzaa. There's also one that we often use now, from you know, it's actually created by the Sultans of String, and they shot the video here at Adinkra Farm, and great tune, you know. So I'm saying,
String from Detroit.
No. They're a Canadian group.
Okay.
Not swing, string.
Not swing. String.
Okay.
String, yeah. But so anyway, you know,
we needed some of that music here tonight. You're gonna have to drop us the links and how we can get that music.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, Kwame, I know we're good on time. I'm cognizant of your time. My show goes for 2 hours. It's only if somebody has to go in. Yeah, because this is a conversation and it's inspiring. So people will listen live, and on the replay, they'll pause and come back and like Sultans of String or Sisters of String.
Sultans of String, and it's called Sing for Kwanzaa.
So is this one Sarah just
Sultans of String, Sing for Kwanzaa? It's called.
Is that what Sarah put up?
Sultans of String.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, now we got it. Sarah, you're on point. So how can, because Sarah asked a question, she's going to be watching from, where did Sarah said she's going to be watching from the NCR. How can people tune in to this Kwanzaa celebration starting on the 26th?
So we are going to be advertising and posting a link. So right now, it's going to be by Zoom, either by Zoom or another platform, and that decision is going to be finalized this coming Sunday, and then we will publicize the information. So unfortunately, so it will be published far and wide, but as of right now, I'm not sure which platform we will be using.
So then we can probably tune in to, I guess if we go in, I'm going to make sure I'm put up here. People can follow you guys at Adinkra Farm on Instagram.
That's right. And actually, if there are groups that still want to contribute something to an evening of Kwanzaa, then, we'd love to have a group from Montreal, a Francophone group. We'd love to see the diversity of African expression as part of our celebration.
And also the Kwanzaa Adinkra Farm page will be updated with the information because Ginelle promised that she would.
Yes.
Or somebody will put it there. And Sarah's like, I can't wait. And so I'm loving this. Like Kwame and Janelle, I'm just like, I know, when we have conversations, we don't even count time. And I am just so stoked that you guys were able to find the time in your schedule of schedules. This is a blessing of COVID because I actually got the two of you together in the same space at the same time at home. And,
well, so can I tell you a little bit about the development projects?
This is where I'm going. I'm so glad you said it because we cannot end this show without talking about what's next for Adinkra Farm and Janelle and Kwame. So you're on it. You're on it, my sister.
So on the 22nd of January, we're going to have our next presentation. But we, as I said, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary here on the property. And one of the things that we decided to do was, first of all, take our time and get to know what the community really wanted to use the place for, because this is not an exercise in our ego or anything like that. This is really about creating what the community needs and wants, and as we see it and as they express it to us. So what we've launched on October 9th is a program or a campaign to fund 6 cabins on the property. And a couple of things about this project. One, that it is about community, initiative, independence. So we're not funding this by asking anybody else but our community for money. We also have structured a susu that goes with it, or a box kitty, a rotating savings and credit association, so that it's also a mutual aid project, whereby we're going to be helping each other financially by extending money to Adinkra Farm that will come back to the people that have put the money in, so that we can build the cabins now. They can be used, other people can use them, and we'll generate the funds to pay people back. So I know that in Western language, we call that a loan and an investment and all those kinds of things. We have those pieces of language there too, but we're grounding it in our African tradition. So we're saying that, when we want to raise the roof, raise a barn, so on, we go to our neighbors and we say, look, the community needs this, and the community responds. And so far we are well on our way to meeting our goal, over 86% the response rate so far in terms of pledges. And, we're looking at this. And when we launched the campaign in October, we thought that maybe somewhere around end of January, we might get to this point. But we've been at this point now for the last 2 weeks, and it's great. So we've taken a sort of a break over this season because everyone's so busy, and we're going to come back January 22nd with what would be our 4th presentation of the opportunity to invest.
So how can people find out.
And we also want to say a big thank you to all of the people who have pledged, participated. Listen, our community is amazing. There's no question. Our community is amazing. We're blessed to be in the community that we're in. We just need to spread that wider, right? Because people were so incredibly supportive. And I got to tell you, that when we first came to Adinkra Farm, there's a longtime friend of mine who, she came and she said, and this was in 2010. She said, look, if you're ever wanting to do anything to develop, count me in. And that was 10 years ago, right?
Wow.
And and so people are very, they're very supportive, very, very supportive. This is going to be a great example of what we could do as a community.
So to answer your question, it's Adinkra Farm Cabins @gmail.com. So that's Adinkra Farm Cabins, one word, @gmail.com. If you email me there, then I will invite you to January 22nd presentation. Or if you have a group that you'd like to organize for a private presentation, we can do that too, through that connection. I wanted to say a little bit more about the development project, because this is just phase 1. In phase 2, we want to put some washrooms and a tank and that sort of thing in. And then in phase 3, I nearly say phase 3. In phase 3, in phase 3, we had to cut down some trees because we're going to look at a larger structure, and a center. The other very exciting thing is that we, based on the principles that we talked about, we want to be able to support our community at every turn. So there's 2 other projects that connect to this that I want to tell you about. One is that we have commissioned the creation of Adinkra symboled cushions, and so they're patterns that have the Adinkra symbols. I'm sadly, I'm not even wearing an Adinkra symbol today because this is an Ankh, which is an Egyptian symbol, but I usually do wear a lot of Adinkra symbol art on my body. Right. And the symbols are things like the Sankofa bird, which people may be familiar with. That's the baby bird that's moving forward but looking back to take its egg. The Jinyame symbol, which is the symbol of the supremacy of God. We have 7 symbols on the property in metal trees, and we are also going to develop a line of home decor. So our first line is some cushions that were commissioned, and the idea here is that we are celebrating and also supporting 5 levels of African businesses with these cushions. So they are the cloth manufacturers and stampers, and weavers. Sorry, the weavers first, the stampers next, then the seamstress that sewed them, then Macpre, which is the company that commissioned the work for us and has mailed them. They're on the way. Wow. And then when they are purchased here by folks, it will support Adinkra Farm. So that's 5 different touches to businesses that support the African diaspora. We'd like to do another project like this with a business here, so that we support local as well in our development. So that's one exciting piece. Right. And then the other exciting piece to tell you about is that I have been running the Susu for over 20 years. Wow. At different times. I stopped for a little bit when I had my son, who's now 14, but now he's old enough. I started back about when he was about 10 or so, and he'll be 15 this. So it's about 5 years now. And we run the Susu. It's 20 weeks, 10 hands, and it's $100 a hand. So it's $100 every 2 weeks. And then we do 2 cycles. And what I can tell you about this is that, I was talking about it and I realized I was talking about it in small terms. I used to say, I used to describe it like I just did. It's 10 hands, these people,
Yeah.
But when I did some calculations, we had 6 groups running concurrently last year. And then we had another side group that developed that just wanted to do $20 every other week. And then they moved it up to 25. And then they said, okay, let's do 25 weekly. And then I had another little group start that said they didn't know anything about this and they wanted to learn. So it was just 5 of them and they just want to try $25 every other week. So that was okay too. So all together over that period, I realized that we were moving over 65, I think it was something in that neighborhood, 62.5 or $65,000, one of the two, in our community over that 20-week period. So, when you say it like that, instead of talking about, there's 7 groups of people, you realize the awesome power that we can wield if we work together as a collective. The other very powerful thing about the Susu, I'll let Kwame tell you, because I like the way he talks about it, and it's about the mutual. Go ahead.
Well, I think that it's really that many people who are living here in North America or in the West, are caught in this very sort of Eurocentric paradigm in terms of value means I get more money for my money.
Right.
And without consideration of the value to community, without an understanding of the time value. So, sometimes when Ginelle is on the phone and, talking to people about the Susu because they're interested and so on, I realize that there's always there's sometimes a bit of a block for some people because they're not understanding, why would I put my money into something if it's not making me more money? And so, I grew up with Susu. My grandmother was in Susu. In fact, one of my jobs as a child was to carry the Susu money to the lodge. You know what I'm saying? So, and here's the thing. It is not just a question of whether or not you get back an interest on your money. The value is the actual ability to use the money in a way that benefits the community. So for example, there was a time in my life that I was a single father. And, one of my friends at the time, her mom was running a Susu. And so here I was, young man. It was almost September. And that's the period at which I had to get the school clothes for the children and so on, to send them back to school in September with, their clothes and, new clothes, new books and so on. And I was lamenting that I didn't actually have this money and I wasn't sure where it was coming from at the time. The kids were very small. And she said to me, listen, take a hand in the partner, right? She's Jamaican. Take a hand in the partner and I will make sure you get your payout in early September. This is also the benefit of the Susu. Right. It is a cultural and historic way to make sure that the pooling of resources benefited the people in the community when they need it.
Yes.
And let me tell you, just that simple concept is so hard for people who are inculcated into a very North American or Eurocentric way, individualistic way. I'm not doing this because I can't see how it's making my money grow. Without an understanding of it is making your community grow, because there's always an opportunity for people to be able to have the payout when it makes sense for them. So there's a time factor there's a time factor involved in the payout. That is the important thing.
Right. And one of those side groups that I was talking about, this phenomenon occurred where the women got together and said, it was all women in this particular group, but my sister has both men and women, but it was all women in this particular, and they said, you know what, everybody send the money to Ginelle. Even though it's my draw today, Janelle needs this money. So could you send the money to her, and we'll fix up after.
Right.
And so in a sense, we are without interest supporting, loving each other, and supporting the economic development of our community in these ways. So yeah, there I think one of the things that has struck me as problematic in terms of the overtaking of our culture is this idea that there's always only one way to do everything. So this is not a diss of the banking system. This is not to say you shouldn't make money if you want to lend money that way. No, we're not anti-business, or well, maybe I'm anti-capitalism. I don't know. we're not anti these things. What we're saying is that there are ways that our community has done it for years, and many communities across the world. So this is also not solely an African thing. One could argue, maybe they got it from us, whatever the case may be. I'm not all about that. I'm saying that this is something that is not foreign to us. This is part of knowing who we are, and we need to celebrate it and do it, not talk about it as if this. And I know there are pyramid schemes out there, and I know there's one going around right now where they start talking about the mystical magic of the susu, and how this is going to manifest itself in the same way. Listen, anything that says that you're going to get out more than you put in, that is not susu. That's a lie, right? And that I would say stay as far away from that as you possibly can. Susu partner and so on, it's transparent, it's equitable, it's fair.
It's a savings mechanism.
And it's a savings mechanism and a mutual aid mechanism.
Correct.
We help each other and we save together. And so the other exciting thing about this is that we're inviting people to use the susu as a way to save the money necessary to become investors in Adinkra Farm, one, or investors in anything that they want to pool together and invest in. So there are ways. So we need support for our businesses to grow. We don't have to wait for somebody to give us money to do that. We can say, you know what? What you need? What, $62,000? We can move that in our community in 20 weeks.
Come on now.
And we can have it ready for you. So that's what I'm talking about.
One thing about the susu is it's also a great way to start children, to teach children how to save money, even outside of the banking system, that you're saving up for something. They don't have a bank account. You're 6-year-old, you're 7. Here's your $5 little thing. Everybody, we do it for a short period of time, and here's your allowance. And let's show them the how to do it. So I really love that, and I really love what you guys are doing. You guys, as I said, are supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, the phenomenal power couple, Janelle and Quammie. I am so grateful, and I think we went into so many beautiful caveats in terms of the conversations that need to happen more consistently and deliberately and intentionally and purposefully, with wisdom, with people like yourself in the community. So I am so grateful that you had this inspired conversation with me. I know I was inspired. I hope those who are live or on the replay are inspired as much as I am by Janelle and Kwame and what they're doing at Adinkra Farms, and Kwanzaa is coming up. So be sure to tune in for the link, and I'll definitely have the link here for what's happening. Hey, Kwame, Simon Solomon. Remember Simon Solomon up at the corner in Digo Martin? She just joined the live. Simon, you came in. No, that's Simon Willis. Okay, I thought it was Simon Solomon. Yes. No, it is Simone. She just came in. Hi, Simone. So you're going to have to listen to the replay, man. Joan Pierre said that this session made me miss you guys even more. Well, Joan, they're on the farm, you could go up and visit. You could do
That's
physical
true.
distancing visiting.
That's
Um,
true.
you'll
It's
have a life.
only an hour and 15 minutes away.
And
Yeah.
we miss you too.
You'll need some Joan Pierre pepper sauce. You'll need some jamento in your life.
Yes.
Hey!
Actually, do this year I grew my own peppers and I made my own pepper sauce.
Joan.
I'm trying a thing. I'm not quite in the Joe Pear category yet, but I'm trying.
He's sure.
Joan can grow her peppers up here.
Yeah.
No, wait.
And have an acre.
Yeah.
Okay. I end that. I end that. Okay. We taking this conversation offline. Joan,
Okay.
we are growing the peppers because she need more.
Yes.
Okay.
We can't keep up. I wish we could grow sorrel up there too. And she have ice cream. I had some guava ice cream. Who making the black cake for Christmas? What's happening at Christmas? Who making the black cake and thing up there?
No, I don't do black cake. We just pasta.
I have black cake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Joan said I'll bring you some, and that's a plan coming up next year. So get the land ready.
Okay.
Come and plant it.
Beautiful.
Come and plant it. We need a little acre there. Oh well, not a full acre, but Janelle and Kwame, thank you for coming on to Victory Speaks Inspired Conversation. For those of you who don't know where to find me on Instagram, on Twitter, it's Victory Speaks 7. On YouTube, this conversation will be here for as long as we can keep it on Facebook. It will be here at Victory Speaks 77, and but it will also be put on the YouTube page. And I am Nicole Waldron with Victory Speaks, having this inspired conversation with you. Let's learn how to live together, be unified, walk in forgiveness, walk in love. And is there any last words or a quote or anything you would like to share that you live by or live with or that grounds you?
I would just say my only message is that we really need to know ourselves and be who we truly are.
Know ourselves. Say that again, Janelle.
Know ourselves, meaning our culture, and knowing who we truly are.
Amen to that. And Mr. Williams?
You know what? I have exactly the same message.
Amen to that.
Self-determination.
Self-determination. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. We really appreciate you. And please share this conversation. And hopefully that you're inspired to be an inspiration in your community. And remember, you can even inspire somebody with your smile. We make sure and smile with someone today. Yes. COVID has been hard on our community. A lot of things have been hard on our community, but we need to lift each other up, love each other, and we'll heal together. We'll heal together, and we'll come together, and we'll come to the cabins up at Adinkra Farms, celebrating in a new and victorious way. Live a life of victory, people. We can do it together. And just for Kwame and Janelle, normally I come out with calabash, but I'm coming out with some drumming today. This is how we ended the show. Woo!
Thanks for having us, Nicole.
You're welcome.